Often we think the harder we work out, the longer we work out, the more sets we do, the better our results, and unfortunately we get stuck in a plateau. Science, however, says otherwise, and I'll show you what to do to maximize your progress in the gym with less effort. Let's get started. First of all, we have to take a look at our training as a whole. How many sets of an exercise per week does science say we should do? Well, the general consensus is 10 to 20 sets per week per muscle group. Now, if we split up the major muscle groups, we find we have the chest, front delts, mid delts, rear delts, triceps, biceps, mid traps, upper traps, lats, abs, glutes, quads, hamstrings, and calves. Now, does this mean we have to hit at least 10 sets of every one of those muscles per week? What about 20 sets? Maybe 15? That can be quite a bit of volume. Fortunately, volume is different for some muscle groups. You wouldn't do 20 sets for calves because that would interfere with your volume for the quads, hamstrings, and glutes, unless you're running a specialization program. If you want to grow your glutes and maximize the sets on those per week, 20 sets, your quads, hamstrings, and calves may not get as much love. With all that being said, keep in mind 20 sets is the upper limit. And even then, we've been seeing higher than 20 sets per week lately in the research, anywhere from like 30 to 52 sets. And when doing 20 sets of a muscle group per week, just one muscle group, can drag out your time commitment in the gym, and your schedule may not allow for that. 10 to 14 sets per muscle group per week, the better target to reach unless your progress on a lift or muscle group stalls for a couple months, and then you might want to specialize and allocate sets towards that lift or muscle group, halting progress on the others. Even just 10 sets per muscle group per week does a lot for your gains, so sometimes less is more. Everybody is different at different seasons in life. It also doesn't hurt to lower the volume a bit after doing higher volumes so your body can, one, reset and get used to lower volumes so that way when you get back to higher volumes, it will spark more growth than it did before, and two, give your mind and body a break. Systemic fatigue is an underrated factor in programming and can make or break a physique if not managed carefully. The exercises you want to focus on at the beginning of your workout are compound exercises, which hit multiple muscle groups at the same time. For example, squats are excellent for the quads and glutes, so instead of doing two exercises, one for the quads and another for the glutes, squats will count as a set for both the quads and the glutes, halving the time you spend in the gym. Most compound exercises knock this out of the park, but some aren't made like the others. Sure, use your biceps when rowing, but how effective is it for the biceps? This study showed biceps hypertrophy is fairly limited in rows. Contrast this with the bench press, where the triceps get a lot of attention and you may be left scratching your head. But don't fret, keep watching, and at the end of this video, you'll learn how to plug all this into a formula that will work for you and your schedule. Now we know our volume, but what about the intensity? Training to failure is obvious, right? While it is true that most people don't know what true failure looks like, that doesn't mean it's good for every set. Research shows lifters get the same muscle gains from leaving 1 or 2 reps in the tank compared to training to failure. I like to use a combined approach where if you're doing 3 sets of a tricep pushdowns, for example, you'll do the first 2 sets 1 rep shy of failure, and on the 3rd set you go all out, everything in you all the way to failure. Or you can do your first set to failure on the last week of your mesocycle, and if you're able to get 2 or 3 reps past your rep range, you can go up in weight the next time you do that exercise. This works great for isolation exercises such as tricep pushdowns, bicep curls, lateral raises, and leg extensions, but it's more nuanced for compound exercises. I generally don't go to failure in compound exercises for 2 reasons. One, since compound exercises use multiple muscle groups, if one of those muscle groups poops out, then you can't do another rep. This is known as the limiting factor or limiting muscle. Going to failure on a compound exercise ensures this muscle gets taxed the most, whereas some other muscle groups might have some more juice left in them. Reason 2 goes off reason 1. If you go to failure and fatigue out the limiting factor, you want to not only rest longer than before the next set, but it also compromises the sets after that, since you'll be getting more fatigue from going to failure on the first set. Not a very efficient use of your time. Instead, I say 1 or 2 reps shy of failure for compound exercises, occasionally going to failure on my last set just to see how close I am to failure. This works best for machine-based compound exercises as there aren't as many stabilizing muscles involved, and therefore limiting factor muscles won't fatigue out as easily before the larger muscles would. And research supports this, keeping reps in the tank, especially for training in the lower rep range, where you'll be doing strength work. After all, you can always do an extra set near the end of your mesocycle. Now, how do we put all this together? For push days, I like to do 1 compound chest exercise, such as the bench press, 1 compound shoulder exercise, such as the shoulder press, then 1 isolation chest exercise, you can do like a pec fly, 1 isolation lateral deltoid exercise, such as lateral raises, and 1 or 2 isolation tricep exercises. For the first 2 exercises, we'll do straight sets, and after the compounds, you can do more supersets with the isolation exercises, since they won't interfere with each other. For pull days, I like to do 1 or 2 compound lat movements, 1 or 2 compound rowing movements, 1 isolation lat or 1 isolation rear delt, and 1 to 2 bicep exercises. Similar idea of supersetting as for the push day. You don't want other muscle groups to interfere with the other ones. And on leg days, we'll start off with 2 to 3 compound exercises, Usually one squat, one hip hinge, and then maybe another squat or hip hinge exercise at a single leg, such as Bulgarian split squats, one isolation quad, one isolation hamstring, then 1 or 2 calf isolation exercises sprinkled in the mix somewhere to get supersetted with. For example, for a push day, you can do 3 sets of 5 to 8 reps for the bench press, 3 sets of 8 to 12 reps for the dumbbell shoulder press, superset single arm cable chest flies for 3 sets of 10 to 15 with tricep pushdowns, 3 sets of 8 to 12 reps, and superset single arm cable D2 flexion with single arm cable overhead tricep extensions, both for 2 to 3 sets of 10 to 15 reps. An example of a pull day would be lat pull downs, 3 sets of 8 to 10 reps, chest supported rows for 3 sets of 8 to 12 reps, seated wide cable rows which are rear delt focused for 2 to 3 sets of 10 to 15 reps, superset cable lat prayers for 2 to 3 sets of 12 to 15 reps with barbell bicep curls, 3 sets of 6 to 10 reps, and then Bayesian curls on top of that to finish it off with 2 sets of 10 to 15 or 15 to 20 reps. And lastly, a good leg day will look like pendulum squats for 3 sets of 8 to 12 reps, superset barbell RDLs for 3 sets of 6 to 10 reps with single leg calf raises off a plate for 3 sets of 8 to 12 reps, dumbbell walking lunges for 2 sets of 8 to 10 reps, superset seated hamstring curls for 3 sets of 8 to 12 reps, and reverse Nordics for 3 sets of 6 to 10 reps. And here's the thing too, probably the most important part of this video. If you can't get to all the exercises or sets, you're doing more than most and more than you normally would if you were to do nothing. Even the research isn't an exact science. Some people respond better to higher volumes and some people respond fine to lower volumes. What matters is your progression over time from your previous self. Perfection isn't the goal, it's betterment. Well guys, thanks for watching this video. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them. Click on the like button if you found this video helpful. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. And I'll see you guys in the next video.